boy, this character is crazy. I'm not Ascension 20 yet, but this was my Ascension 3 run, and you'd watched my previous video if you've seen it, my Ascension 2 run. I didn't think I'd be able to get a better run than the last time, where I was constantly, calm and wrath, and just so much damage and defense, and everything was perfect. I ended up beating the heart for the first time with the Watcher because of it. But with this video, I'm going to show you a crazy divinity build I got. But before that, let's pour one out to the dead run that had to be sacrificed in order to get this one. Now with that out of the way, let me show you how this started. We start with a boss swap relic, and we get a fusion hammer, which is not a great thing to get early. Maybe we can pick up a lesson learned along the way, but we don't get lucky enough for that. Instead, I'm thinking I gotta find cards that can work effectively on their own without upgrading. Either that or find cards that you can create mid-battle and hope you can get the card that upgrades them. But for those of you that don't know, the fusion hammer basically says you can't smith when you get to a campfire. This is why we would want a lesson learned, or something to create cards mid-battle that can be upgraded, or just try to find events inside of question mark cards that can upgrade a couple of our cards here and there. But because I did start with a fusion hammer, that does give me one extra energy in replace of being able to smith, which means I can take early cards that cost a little more and it would actually be okay. For example, I found a fasting extremely early, and that kind of carried its weight. You don't need to upgrade that for it to be useful. Now, that's usually a card people would not want to take because it drains your energy every turn, but when you start with an extra energy on Act 1, it's actually an extremely powerful card. But mixing a fasting with stuff like prostrate, well, that's really good because you have the extra dexterity, which gives you more block. So my goal after taking fasting was just to collect as many low-cost cards as I can and get some draw. Lucky for me, I end up finding Sanctities. I took 2 from my deck, I believe, and they worked wonders. If you don't know, Sanctity is a block card, but if you play a skill before Sanctity, then it also draws 2 cards. And mixing that with the extra energy, along with having zero-cost prostrates, potentially, well, you can just keep playing more and more of these cards, and because prostrate gives you mantra, you might want to call it actually, this makes it really easy to start building up your mantra to go into divinity. 10 mantra equals 1 divinity proc, which gives you a bunch of energy and triples your damage output. But it only lasts for 1 turn, but you can continuously get into divinity, as long as you continue to get more mantra. But every step of the way, I felt like this build was being given cards that just work really, really well. For instance, I got an early Prey, which gives you an insight along with 3 mantra when you play it unupgraded. So now I'm collecting various ways to gain mantra, and because I'm collecting a bunch of block cards already, I'm able to block and stall turns until I go into divinity and I can just one-shot everything that shows up. And at some point, I even end up picking up a Pandora's box, and I get a scroll. Shortly after getting a scroll, I get a bottled lightning, so I can always start with a scroll, which means I can always just fill my hand to the full on turn 1. Remember how I said low-cost cards work really well with fasting? Well, the Watcher also conveniently has a card called Just Lucky, which does a little bit of damage, does a little bit of scry, gives you a little bit of block, very minuscule amounts. It's usually not the best card, but like an okay one if you have a lot of draw, and if you mix fasting with it, it becomes a very powerful zero-cost card. So mixing all these different things together, the Pandora's box gave me Scroll, and I believe it also gave me Meditate, I was able to continuously get my Sanctities back to draw more and more, which means that I would also be able to play my Prostrates more, but also play my Just Luckies more. With fasting and also being able to change forms in the Calm and Wrath and Divinity, along with a Mental Fortress, well, that's a lot of block and a lot of damage coming your way. You know what else made this build go crazy? I ended up getting a Ritual Dagger, and building that up to be able to do a whole lot of damage by the end. Now, mixing a Ritual Dagger with Wrath or Divinity, doubling, tripling your damage, and being able to scale it in every fight that you do is just insane. It takes a pretty whatever card and very quickly makes it into something that appears very overpowered. If you really even build up your Ritual Dagger to just 20 damage, that's a 1-cost card that if you go into Wrath does 40 damage and Divinity does 60 damage. Imagine the glee on my face when I go into Wrath or Divinity and I'm seeing over 100 damage being able to deal onto an enemy with 1 cost. So now listen to this one. I got the event in Act 3 where you can choose between fighting an Act 1 boss, healing all the way but gaining a couple curses, or never being able to heal again but you upgrade every card in your deck. And usually you're not going to take the upgrade all your cards no longer heal. It's a really risky option. You need a very solid build to do it. You need to have a lot of confidence, to say the least. And sometimes it's just not really worth it because you already have all of your cards you want upgraded. Or it's just really strong being able to get like a rare relic by fighting an Act 1 boss. But remember at the start of this run, I got Fusion Hammer, which means I wasn't able to upgrade any of my cards. In fact, I don't think I got any events that let me upgrade anything. Keep in mind, I do have that Bottled Lightning Scrawl, and when I see this event, I already have 70 HP out of my 78, I believe. And when you upgrade Scrawl, it becomes 0 cost, which means turn 1 I can fill my hand for no energy. But I think it's also important to note, my cards were already very strong without being upgraded, so when you upgrade them, it just sends the build to the moon, really. Fasting becomes way more efficient, getting into Divinity becomes an almost every single turn occurrence. Things just start to go really crazy after this. In fact, I don't think I took any damage after this point whatsoever, because upgrading my entire deck that has no upgraded cards, who would have guessed, makes your deck extremely powerful compared to what it was before. You see, I had confidence in my deck without it upgraded. I didn't know if I could beat the heart with it because unupgraded cards are, held back by not being able to be as efficient as they can be, but upgrading all of them, I felt like I could take on the world. So naturally, I come across the Awakened one. I have a couple powers in my deck. Doesn't even matter. I play whatever I want. He can't scale faster than I can. Okay, no damage against our Act 3 boss. What about the Act 4 elites? These are usually a pain in the ass, right? Well, I pretty much one-shot them. I got a pretty big Ritual Dagger on like turn 1 and just KO'd the guy on the right immediately. And then the guy on the left just didn't stand a chance after that. And then we run into the heart, and the fight went pretty much as well as it could. See, Ascension 20 against the heart is really difficult. You can only deal 200 damage maximum per turn, along with them having 800 HP. So imagine how shocked my face was running into the heart and realizing, oh, I can do 300 damage a turn, and it has only, what, 750 HP? Top of that, he doesn't do nearly as much as he would on Ascension 20. So you could argue my build might have struggled a little bit against the Ascension 20 version, but honestly, I think my build would have been just fine fighting the Ascension 20 heart as well. Obviously, I've got the fight playing in the background right now, and you can just watch and see what's happening. I don't really have too much else to say. Besides, if you want to watch the rest of the fight, feel free. And besides that, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, comment. I'm gonna have more content coming down the pipeline. And on top of that, I'm still daily uploading until the 25th of December for Christmas. And so with that, today was day 11 of my daily uploads. Stay tuned for even more. And after this heart fight, I'm gonna have my daily collage going where I just draw a little bit of something to commemorate each day that happens. And with that, take care.